Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us today. Just a disclaimer before we start, we will be publishing this webinar on YouTube. So we are going to leave the link in the chat for you to subscribe to our channel, where we would also be announcing surprises and all other updates. So our focus is providing useful information. So we are also open to suggestions from our viewers for our next webinars and for our next sessions. So I will also leave the details in the chat. And for the first 30 that contact us, we will be offering a free initial consultation of 30 minutes. So I would like to start with introducing myself. My name is Marissa Colasso, and I'm part of the team here at SGP Sandra Gomes Pinto Associados. We are joined by Dr. Sandra herself, who has been a practicing lawyer for over 30 years, assisting international clients in relocation, investment, litigation, and other legal matters. She has been speaking all over the world on investments in Portugal, visas, litigation, and arbitration. She has also lectured in Heidelberg, which is one of the top universities in the world. And as a local attorney, she and her team and our team are able to help you navigate the Portuguese immigration system while also being a friend who helps you navigate life in a new country. So I would now like to ask Dr. Sandra to give us a brief introduction about herself and her firm and the services that she provides.
So, hello, you all. It's a great pleasure to be here with my great friends, Dave and Shira. It's really a great pleasure. And doing this, helping people move to Portugal, makes us have these great friends and meeting these great people, which it's a great pleasure for all the team. I have been working for over 30 years in Portugal as a lawyer. I have been working in big litigation and arbitration cases, was a partner for a big firm for almost 20 years. Spoken a lot of conference about investment in Portugal and visas. These last 10 years, I have my own firm and we have other departments, but we have been focusing a lot on assisting Americans, British, Canadians to move to Portugal. We make sure they have a flawless process, and we make sure we have a positive impact on their journey to Portugal. At this moment, we know from the legal point of view many details and many problems that may appear and how to navigate our still unstandardized bureaucracy. But we also have an impact on them, leading to have a healthier and happier life. And this is something we have been doing on an ongoing basis. And this is something that the team is very proud, and it's also a life purpose for us to do this.
Yes. And now I would like to welcome our special guests and very dear clients of ours, Dave and Shira. It's a pleasure to have you here. And thank you for agreeing to share your journey with all of us. And to start us off, could you tell us a little bit about yourselves and why you decided on Portugal and what made this the right choice for you?
We have been married for over 38 years and soon to be 39. And we have had a wonderful life together. We have 2 children who live in the United States. We have 2 dogs who now live here in Portugal with us, and some chickens that we
inherited
in Portugal. I was a teacher formerly. My husband was a businessman. We made a decision to come here. It was a dream that we were not sure we would be able to fulfill. We wanted to live in a beautiful country, that we could travel through Europe. We wanted to be in a place that celebrated diversity and food, because there is a diverse amount of food and lots of different cultures, because this is such a beautiful place and people want to come here. And that's, I guess, to start. Is that enough? Sure. I think I gave you maybe more information about our chickens than we needed to know.
And if I may interrupt, what was the big factor that made you move forward?
We wanted him to be able to retire. I had retired already as a teacher, and we wanted to be able to travel through Europe in an affordable way, in a beautiful place. And we really wanted to live near the ocean. That was a huge piece of this. I've been wanting a beach house our entire life together. And even before, as a young woman, in my teens, I always dreamt that I would own a beach house. and it was not an attainable goal in the United States. And when we came here and we saw the beaches, and I grew up on the Atlantic, so that the water doesn't scare me. And I like a beachy beach. I want a beach that has waves and doesn't have to be tranquil like a lake. And the Atlantic is not.
No,
It is
it's
not.
And,
It is
and
not.
as Shira mentioned, I retired the middle of last year. And once we began to think about where we wanted to retire, it became clear to me that I'd like to retire sooner rather than later. And Portugal offers us the opportunity for me to retire in 2005. Had we stayed in the U.S., 2025. Oops, not that old. But had we stayed in the U.S., I probably would have been working another 7 to 10 years before I could afford to retire.
Easily. And we are living in a lovely place with a standard that we're not compromised our standard of living whatsoever. I would say that we are living very, very, and we have a wonderful community of people that have embraced us that I, in wildest dreams, would never have believed that we would be this happy, this quickly here.
And now I'd like to ask Dr. Sandra to just give us a brief about what the process looks like for those people who are planning on moving and are interested in moving forward. Can you tell us a little bit about the timeline?
Yes, I can tell you a little bit about the timeline. So typically when people contact us, the first step I advise you to do earlier than later. Today it's science that the sooner you and the more prepared your process is, the better chances you have to have a good relocation. But typically when a client, if they take us with some anticipation, we can do a better and more calm preparation. If not, the first legal steps would be immediate to get an if. People imagine they hired us now. We will ask for the documentation for the power of attorney. We will prepare, the client will sign, and we will, within days, we will start for the NIF and trying to get a bank account remotely. We work with CGD, which is the only Portuguese bank that has an A qualification by international agencies. Immediately after that, we send them the list of all the documents needed, and we explain the list calmly as we are doing now. And most of the things will be done by us. So we get the appointments for the client, we fill in the forms, we fill in the statements that are needed, we guide them on the personal statement. We want to make sure everything is perfect, is flawless. And so we guide them on everything, and everything that can be done on our end, we do it to suppress stress and to make things more predictable on the legal side. The things that have to be done by the client, we try to them as much as we can, and each day we try to do a better service and to better understand how we can help them. After this moment, we try to understand what is the client's timeline, and we try to get them an appointment in the consulate. After getting the appointment, we prepare, we check, double check, triple check every document, so there is a little level of uncertainty, and people are fully prepared when they come to the appointment. We typically also do a final meeting where we check with the clients, together with the clients, that all the documentation is in place, and we give some extra legal guidance to know how to prepare and to attend the consulate, which is not typical in an interview. They won't ask for your political opinion or other strange questions. It will be more documentation checking, and it's still important that each person does bring hard copies of all the documents. Now in this digital era, sometimes people forget a little bit about the hard copies, and nowadays the are also taking people passports. After this appointment in consulate, there is a moment of a lot of uncertainty. After you have the appointment, sometimes they give you a track number, but sometimes it doesn't work. So there are 2-3 months where people don't know exactly if there's any problem with their process, what is happening. And during this time, by this time we know the people, we are in constant contact with them, so we try to know what's going on, and we understand that for our clients it's not only important the crucial moments such as the appointment in the consulate, but also these waiting moments can the levels of anxiety and uncertainty can roof to the top. So we make sure that we also accompany and really try to know what is going on with the process. Typically, 2 to 3 months after the appointment, the visa is stamped on your passport. By this time, you can 6 months from the first call, if everything is all right and if the clients also do all their homework. And after these 6 months, people can come for good and take care of the rest of the process before the AIMA here in Portugal. Then, after you have the appointment, it is to check in your passport, in the visa, whether they gave you an AIMA appointment, which many times is the case, sometimes it's not the case, and in those situations we will have to get AIMA appointments for the clients, which can be troublesome, but it's something we are very used to do, and we have managed to do successfully for hundreds of clients. Then we prepare another file, complete file with another updated documents and set for the AIMA appointment, and there is always an experienced lawyer from our team that will accompany the clients to the AIMA appointment, which can be in any place in the country, although the law established it should be the place of your legal residency. The AIMA, from a practical standpoint, does it and sets these appointments anywhere in the country. And so we have people from the north with appointments in the Algarve, in Madeira, in Bragança, in part of the country. So we with our Dave and Shira, our dear clients, we also went with them to the AIMA appointment in a very, very day. And so this is also an important moment with them. Also, after the AIMA appointment, we also accompany the client and to know what's going on with the card before it's issued, because this is also a moment of uncertainty. So we have someone on a weekly basis going to the AIMA to check what is the status of issuance of the residency card for 2 years. Immediately after our clients receive the card, we will put in our agenda that we have to remind them for the renewal of the card, which seems very far away, but everything happens and moves forward very quickly. So we are treating a lot of renewals already from many clients that after years still are kind enough to trust our services, and that makes us also very happy.
I think that's an overview of the whole process. To talk about the initial phases, Dave and Shira, you first engaged our firm in 2024, December 2024, when everything was still very much in the planning stage. Can you describe what that early stage felt like for you and how having professional guidance helped you?
Yeah, I'll take it.
I'm going to let Dave take it because I was basically terrified by the entire, overwhelmed, because I wanted it so much and didn't believe we could do it, and I should have trusted.
Yes, but I hope I'm helping hand in that regard.
Oh, it was before we met you that I was terrified. Dave went out, did the research, and I let him talk.
It is a daunting process. You know, we did some research on where we wanted to be, and Portugal ended up being the ideal place for us, and we may get a chance to talk about that a little bit later. But the process itself, you know, I read that there's a possibility or potential that you can take care of all the immigration documentation and your appointments and all. It's not a DIY project. Having a professional in to help you not only with the documentation, but also with communication with the consulates proved to be just invaluable to us. After our initial consult, Sandra's team sent us a list of 13 documents that we needed to acquire in order to make our appointment at the consulate successful. And it's a consuming process, especially if you're working, as I was at the time, full time. making sure that you have the document, original documents. The documents need to be notarized are such that the documents that need to be apostilled
what is an apostille?
That was the first question for
What
us.
is an apostille?
Yes,
But
I may, if I interrupt you, because there's a question lots of our clients have. So there's something called the Convention of Hague that then most of the countries in the world enter into, and that for a public foreign document to be valid in another country, it needs to be apostilled. But so when you have an FBI apostille in Portugal, US is saying to the Portuguese authorities, this document is valid according to US laws and therefore should be enforceable in Portugal. Sorry for the interruption.
No. It's
They used to call it a notary on steroids.
And what we found, we had other friends who were going through this process as well. But what we found was one of the important things to remember about those documents in apostille is that it's basic. Somebody has to certify the signature on the document is true and correct. And that has to be done by the Department of the State in the state from which the document was issued. So for federal, it goes to Washington, D.C. In our case, we were married in Connecticut, so our marriage certificate needed to be apostilled in Connecticut. Shira's birth certificate, the same thing. It's a process.
It's a little more complicated.
And one of the we knew that I could always turn to Sandra's team when I would become frustrated, and they would give me guidance, and they did. They kind of kept me moving forward.
Things pop that we would never have imagined. I'm going to use the example of our marriage license. We thought we were married. We're married, but we were married by a justice of the peace in a restaurant because it was our second marriage for both of us. And he gave us this lovely document, handed it to us, patted us on our heads, and we walked away. For 38 years, or 30, at that point it was 37 years, we thought that was our marriage license. We went to provide it, and here we find out, oh, no, to go to the government, and they had to register, and then they
get a formal.
And here, Dave and I said, we have 2 children together. Are you telling me we're not really married? But we are. But he had to go, not only that document had to go to the Hartford state capitol, our FBI documents, and we were living in Pennsylvania. Our FBI documents had to go Washington, D.C. Everything had to go different places. There were so many moving parts.
There are a lot of moving parts. And one suggestion I would make to anybody who's beginning the process or in the middle of it, there are services out there, and I'm not this team. There are services out there that say that they will take care of attaining your apostille for you. Don't bother.
And Sandra's team would not do that. You do your own. That's your job.
It's quicker and actually easier for you to do it
yourself. And Sandra will tell you and help you every step of the way about what you need, what to anticipate, to the point where that team, they're like things they went through Olympic hurdles for us in way that we did, right? We didn't realize we made mistakes, and they went through every step of the way. They were with us. And whenever I would say Dave always teases when he's nervous because I'm picking up, an expensive trinket piece of jewelry, he'll say his palms got sweaty. Well, there were times where not because of expensive stuff, but because of this paperwork, his palms were constantly sweating. Okay. And they helped diffuse that nervousness, assure us in a realistic way, though. It wasn't pie in the sky, candy coating things, very realistic.
They gave us the information that we needed to hear when we needed to hear it.
Correct. We were not overwhelmed by anything they ever told us, ever.
Mm-hmm. You are also very much kind and respectful, and that's why we appreciate you so much, David and Shira. Also very grateful, nice people.
Oh, thanks. But I think it comes from years of having been a teacher. I always, I like people want to do things for you if they trust you and they like you. They don't want to help you if you're being mean.
Yes.
right?
And yes. And for those who are considering this move, Dr. Sandra, could you give us a brief overview about the D7, D8, and what are some of the differences between these two pathways?
So the D7, which was the one that Dave and Shira used, are typically the visa for pensionees and retirees, for all those that hold passive income. Meaning passive income is rentals, investments, interests, royalties. These are income. Income you don't have to work for. And so this is the D7 for those that have passive income. And typically you have to have, on average, you have to earn 920 euros. We also have the D8 is for those that are working remotely from abroad and have reside and are working in Portugal, but being paid by a foreign entity. Typically, although the name is digital nomad visa, is not only applicable for digital nomads, this is also applicable for any type of job or activity, irrespective of its form, as long as it's a professional activity being paid by a foreign entity or foreign person while the person is in Portugal. In terms of financial requirements, you have to have 4 times the financial requirements of the D7 visa. So for 2026, you have to show that on average, the main applicant earns 3,608 euros plus 50% for a spouse and plus 30% if you're bringing any child with your visa.
And just a follow-up question, are there any other visa pathways, and what about the golden visa? Has there been any changes?
So there are visas for those that are high qualified professionals, and there are visas for those that are creating companies and business in Portugal. This is also an option. All these are residential visas, so they require you to reside, to have your family life centered in Portugal. You also have the golden visa. The golden visa requires you to reside in Portugal for only to not reside, but to be in Portugal 14 days within a 2-year period. For all also those that cannot move to Portugal but would like to have a safe harbor in Europe, the golden visa is a good chance. But it's important to note that in this case, you have to do an investment, which is not necessary in any of these visas. You don't have to invest anything. And for the golden visa, typically it's required a 500,000 euro investment. But also we urge you to do this investment with the same criteria we use any financial investment.
And now to talk about the consulate appointment. Dave and Shira, your appointment took place in June last year at the New York consulate, which is often a source of anxiety for many applicants. So I would like to ask, how was your experience as to what you were expecting?
It was remarkably wonderful. We got there early in the morning as Sandra's team made an appointment for us on a day that wasn't an appointment day. They did an above and beyond yet again, got us in together. It was a back appointment, but they took us together, which was great because having each other there was a good thing always. Gave us, Sandra and her team went through every single document that we needed to have, checked it, double checked it, made sure that the team had copies. We each had copies. We each had a portfolio that was organized in the exact sequence that we were asked for these items. The person who was interviewing us was an absolutely lovely woman who spoke perfect English. Like, it wasn't like we had to go in there and be able to speak Portuguese, which I think people worry. They go in there thinking they have to be able to speak fluent Portuguese. Most of the people that were in line were waiting to have small things taken care of. Ours was a bigger thing. So we were taken back and met with in an office. The woman who ended up being, what is she, assistant?
No, she's a technology officer there now.
She's a technology officer there. So she was extremely knowledgeable and knew exactly what she was looking at. and turned to me and she said, "How can you retire? How can right now? How come you're not working? How can you do that?" And I explained that I was retired as a teacher that year, and that I had a pension. And she said, "You seem too young to be able to retire." Thank you, but I wasn't. But that's okay. But it was her that we had all the documentation about my retirement plan, because we had been told by Sandra's team, you need this, you need that. This is a critical piece. They want to be able to see that you're moving to Portugal because you love Portugal, not because you're trying to become, I don't know, a bum on the beach. I don't know, but I could be a bum. I would be perfectly happy to sleep on the beach. But they wanted to make sure that you could take care of yourself, and we can. And she also mentioned that she had never seen a more beautifully arranged file, more perfectly prepared. She looked at Dave and she said, "Whoever you have working for you really knows what they're doing." So that was a moment when we were both very happy to have Kat Sandra. I will tell you,
we took a deep breath.
We were like, we knew the best. So within, was it 3 months of that? 6 months?
It was later. We had
kids to us when we were in the meeting. These are the files that I have to go through, and pulled open this huge drawer. And she said, "This is what's in front of you in line." And Sandra had prepared us. She said, "There's a possibility, we're going to just try our best to get you through this before you have to leave Portugal."
But I think the line there, and I don't want it to be lost, is when you sit down in front of a person whose job it is to screen all day people that are attempting to get a D7 or D8, whatever their visa is, and looks up and says, "Whoever you have working for you
really knows." Little angels were singing in the background. You're like, "Those are our Portuguese team. We love them."
So yeah, that was ours with the consulate,
and she was lovely as well. The consulate was lovely. And the next we came in, we ran into her in the lobby, and she remembered us. Yeah. So it was just, that was very, and there are thousands of people who pass through those doors every day, every week, I think.
Yeah.
And talking about visa appointments, I think this is an important topic for a lot of our viewers as well, because as I see that there are so many questions on the appointment availability. So Dr. Sandra, could you talk a little bit about the backlogs and the difficulty in getting these visa appointments, and how has your team been managing?
So lately, it has been quite difficult to get visa appointments, especially for the Washington jurisdiction these last months. We have several people doing this on a regular basis, plus several bots, artificial intelligence mechanisms working on that. And we have been now and then been able to get some, but it really has been hard. Now there are many people taking advantage of these and offering miracles, but as always, miracles do not work. Especially companies are not performing miracles that well. So I think it's important to understand that we do our best, and we are trying to address that, and creating also legal alternative solutions that we work together have also been quite successful, especially for all those from the Washington jurisdiction, because you probably don't know, but if you are from the Washington consulate area, you cannot start on your application in any of the other places. You are obliged, it's mandatory to choose the Washington jurisdiction.
And to talk your move, Dave and Shira, you made the decision to move to Portugal before you even had the final visa approval. So what was that period like for you, and how important was it for you to have guidance and help and support through this waiting phase?
It was scary. I'm not going to lie.
We made a mistake.
That was probably the things that I would change. That would be the one thing. We probably pulled trigger a little too early on purchasing the property or selling, but we were relying on our 90-day tourist visa to outlast the period while we were waiting for our D7 stamp.
And
So
that's
we
just-
left the
that was
country.
our mistake. Nothing to do with Sandra's team.
We left.
They pulled us out of the fire on that one.
Yeah, we left the country, and before we had our D7 stamp.
Well, let's take a
And-
step back about the house, though. We found a house when we came on a reconnaissance mission to decide where we wanted to live in Portugal, or if we wanted to live in Portugal. Fell in love, knew we wanted it,
Yeah.
and found a home. Put a bid in, it was accepted. Okay, so we have a house, but we weren't about the paperwork, as we should have done more research with contacting Sandra, getting that rolling first. So if there's any piece of information I can give anybody to help them, call Sandra before you start buying anything. Okay.
I promise I didn't ask you to say that.
No, I was paid.
No,
That was a paid endorsement.
You are very kind, Dave and
So
Shira.
I think it's,
No, I think it's
one of the
important.
ones for the D7 is that you need to be able to show that you have a residence in Portugal, whether it's a rental or a purchase.
Right.
And it's
We have dogs, and finding an apartment with 2 large dogs. And when I say large, one of them's a Great Dane. She's 130,
50 pounds.
150 pounds. Or is she like 70, 60 kilo or whatever? I don't know. But anyway, I still haven't gotten that figured out. I've been here since 6 months, but I still haven't figured out the kilo thing. But that made things a little more challenging for us. But that was us. That we had dogs this is like, if you're a single person or a married couple that are retiring, things may be a lot easier for you because you may not have the same constraints, for lack of a better word, that we had. And we chose to buy a home that had a yard so that the animals would be free to live. We lived in Pennsylvania on 2.5, 3 acres of, or 2 acres, 2 land ran. And we didn't want to put them in a condominium. So there's a little background to why things were harder.
There were a lot
We were
of
putting in
there were a lot of
patterns.
things that worked our way. Our buyers were very flexible on when they wanted to close.
We found the
They were-
perfect home.
Yeah, they were willing to lease us the home, so we had the document we needed for our D7. A lot of things came together, but we created a lot for ourselves by
And Sandra.
by on that 90-day tourist visa
Yeah, don't do that if
to
you can avoid that.
get our to have our stamp.
But we're here.
It worked out, but just the skin
And
of
our
our
little
Yes.
so, yeah.
And Dr. Sandra, a question: what does the support from the team at SGP look like in this phase of waiting? And
So we try to contact the times that are needed to reassure our clients and to make them sure that there's nothing wrong with the visa. That is just sometimes they're waiting in the normal waiting time. So but this, I think that's with the consulate that we know very well, gives a lot of reassurance to all our clients. We also do that after the AIMA appointment. We have someone going to the AIMA on a regular basis to understand what is the status of issuance of the card, because these not only the crucial movements and points where you have lots of things to do, but also these moments of less work, but people of waiting time can cause a lot of anxiety. So we make sure we accompany clients throughout this phase, these difficult phases.
And just a reminder before I move on to the next topic, for the first 30 people that contact us, either through email or on our social media platforms, with the code SGP, your partner to move to Portugal, we will be offering a free consultation. So please do reach out to us. So to talk about your visa approvals, Dave and Shira, your visas were approved in October 2025, and shortly after you received your visas, you returned to the United States and then received visa stamped at the New York consulate. So how did it feel to finally receive this approval after months of preparation and waiting? And how has your life been since then in living in Portugal?
I can talk about this. We're going to let the dogs out because unfortunately we had tried to keep them quiet and they're not being very compliant, which isn't unusual. So Dave's going to quickly let them out of their spot. I will be happy to go ahead and answer this question for you. I'm sorry for the interruption. But you'll see when we say big dogs, if they come by, you'll know why. There, Dave's. Okay, so what was our life like? What is our life like in Portugal? It's beautiful. We live in we do not live in a neighborhood that is full of expats. We chose to live in Sandin, which is it's outside of Porto in near Vila Nova de Gaia. We're near the Douro River, which is an absolutely magnificent location. It's very much a farm area, yet we have very close access to major roads, all types of markets, grocery, any kind of shopping that one would need, okay, as well as healthcare. Excellent access to all of those things. Our neighbors are phenomenal. Many of them do not speak a word of English. However, when we came in, they were all more than welcome to meet us. Our realtor, who is awesome too. So if anybody needs a realtor, I can tell you there's some really good realtors here in Portugal. We were lucky, we found an excellent one. Took us around and introduced us to our neighbors. And the neighbors the next day came over we were here in July, started in July. And because we did not have an established garden, which to them was, how do you subsist without a major garden? Because most of them have gardens. We're bringing baskets of food to us to welcome us to the neighborhood. Tomatoes, the most beautiful tomatoes I've ever seen, cabbages, cucumbers, squash, you name it, we had it. And they were very, very, very kind. And we were very receptive to it. And initially we were Mr. and Mrs. Senor and Senora. Now we're just Dave and Shira, and we like that a lot better. And they've adopted us in a lot of ways, and we appreciate that very much.
I think it's important also for folks to understand. We looked in the south, we looked in Algarve, we checked out the central part of the country, but we kept on hearing that the north was a much more, that people were a little bit more laid. And so that's kind of where we wanted to focus. It's important to understand that if you're going to come to a place and you want to be a part of that you do try to blend in. Shira did with a copious amount of produce that we got from our neighbors. Shira turned around and made pies, and she made breads, and she made soup, and we tried to return the favor. And I think that's it. We've done what we do to try
to not be the ugly Americans. So we were concerned we were going to come off as.
To try to be part of the neighborhood. And if that's not what somebody wants to do, if somebody wants to live in an expat neighborhood, they can do that.
There are many locations in the cities, in Lisbon, in Porto, in the Algarve, many, many places that you can come and just whether you're a Brit, whether you're an American, whatever you are, Australian, right. There are locations that there are clusters of expats of your nationality. If that's what you want, you can find that here too, and still have the beautiful Portuguese culture. We wanted to come to Portugal and live as the Portuguese. That was what we wanted. We fell in love with people. We fell in love with the country.
The food,
the food's pretty great, and also that's excellent. But that is really who we are, though. This is a jumping off point. We can travel using our D7. We can travel anywhere in the EU, or help me, Sandra.
Schengen area.
Schengen, and I could without encumbrance. And that was huge to us. This morning I got online and I said, hey, Dave, there's a $89 round trip ticket to Milan. You want to go to Milan for 89 bucks? And he said, well, once you're in Milan, you have to kind of pay more than just 89 bucks here. I said, I know, but still. So there's that. You can just go, and It's an amazing feeling.
Yep.
Amazing.
Let me just say something, that what you're telling about living a little bit of community life, this is also, we have hearing that again and again, also from other clients. And today's in the psychology of happiness, this is consider living a community and less individualistic and egotistic life. It's super important for human beings, and that there's a lot of satisfaction that you're really happy with your life here.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's
great.
just as a point of reference, there's in a really nice town in central Pennsylvania, and
we know a lot more people.
We know
our neighbors.
We know more neighbors here than we knew there.
Yeah,
and we lived in that house for 25 years.
I mean, neighbors. We knew a lot of people there, but people that live immediately in our area.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everybody knows each other, and they know the dogs. Because they all have dogs. Everybody has dogs. Everybody's rooster crows a little bit at different times. You know, I mean, that was when people ask me what was the hardest adjustment for me. True. The first month we were here, we did not have air conditioning, so the windows were open. It was extremely quiet at night, like really, really quiet, except when the roosters decided it needed to be quiet anymore. And one would start, and then it was almost like a Morse code through the neighborhood. So that would be that. I mean, we live on a farm. If you that, you got it. If you want to live in the Algarve and live on a golf course, there's that too.
Yep.
So you want to go to Porto, live in the city, you could do that. So Lisbon, wherever, Cascais, mountains.
Yes.
Yeah. So coming to some of the things here, Dr. Sandra, what are the waiting times that you are now seeing with the visa approvals? And what about the scheduling with the AIMA appointment? Can you talk about this process?
So the approval of the visa is less. It can be 15 days, it can be 3 months, but the time they give, which is relatively accurate, it's 60 working days after you have the consulate appointment. And to get the AIMA, we have seen different things. So it's possible to get appointments online, and we have been getting appointments for our clients. Sometimes they are scheduled down the road within several months, but in some cases we manage to get walk-ins and to get these appointments. This is also something we have managed to do to some of our clients to adjust this appointment to their needs and their.
And I would like to ask Dave and Shira what their experience was like with their AIMA appointment, and how representation helped you all through this process.
Okay, well, the day of the AIMA was pouring rain. We were very lucky in that Sandra's team was able to secure an AIMA appointment for us together in the same location, because that does not always happen. Even though it was in Cascais, which broke our hearts because we had to drive and go for a long weekend in a castle. That was pretty great. Unfortunately, it was during the flooding when the weather was really, really bad. And Sandra and Marissa came to us. They rescued us and brought us to the appointment. We didn't have to go about parking. Once we got to the appointment, it was a very, very crowded location. There were lots of people in and out. I sat with Marissa on one side and Sandra on the other side. Dave stood and watched the people come in and out. And Sandra had her big file full of all of our information. And she took charge. As soon as she went in, she's little, but she's a dynamo. Went in and basically gave them everything we needed. We didn't have to do, literally, Dave, I don't think you had to do a thing. Did you, other than tell the guy your name?
No, just
and get our pictures taken. And I even blew that because I was the lady next to me when they took my picture. Oh yeah, we did do fingerprints too.
Yeah.
But that was it. It was seamless. And the worst of it was the weather. And Sandra does a lot of miracles, but there's not one of them. That's not in her wheelhouse. yet.
And Dr. Sandra, from your end, could you talk about how you assist the clients through this whole process with AIMA, and what are some of the challenges and the backlogs, if you could?
Yes, we make sure we are cautious. We are women. There are some men also in the team, so I also want to mention them. But we make sure we have a very complete process, and we have both from the consulate and also from the AIMA that people do have a bulletproof process. And so we put there everything they could possibly are, because the process is still a little bit unstandardized. At this moment, we know the people, we know the rules, we know the details. So our aim is we have almost 100% success tax rate. So we make sure that this goes well and people have a flawless process. And we are every day thinking, how can we make this experience better? And how can we contribute to people to have a happier and life here, which in the end is what people want.
Dave and Shira, right now you are waiting for your residence cards, but you're still fully settled into life here. How would you describe living in Portugal so far, and what would your advice be to someone who's on the same path as you, but still on the fence and considering the move?
Well, Dave had to let the dogs out. Sorry, guys. He's back. I would say my biggest advice would be, if you really, really want to do this, don't let other people tell you not to follow your dream. Because we made the decision before we told friends, before we told our families. We told our children, but we did not tell anybody, because we felt that it was our personal decision, and that if you allow other people to make decisions for you without the knowledge that you have, do your research first and make sure it's what you really want. But as Dave has said, if you have a dream and you work hard and you hire the right people, if you have the funds to do it, you can get anything accomplished. And Sandra's team was extremely reasonable. They're very client-centered. And we were looking for someone who was going to have us in their front view, that not in the rear view, not in the side pocket, right in front of them. And the team did. Always. Our first meeting, we did not meet with Sandra. We met with some of her team, and they were delightful. And we walked away feeling we can work with these people. But one thing that Sandra, I've never told you this, I don't think, but I've noticed it since then, that blew both of us away, was when we got to your appointment, GPS, this is the other thing. Google doesn't always work in Portugal, guys, because we couldn't find them. And it wasn't their fault, it was Google. So we were late for our appointment. They were kind. They brought us right in. They took care of us. We were like, maybe we aren't going to get this appointment. You remember that? We were like really worried. We thought we were so late. We didn't get the appointment. But anyway, they were very kind. And I remember we walked up to the door, and there isn't this, like in the United States, the lawyers, they have billboards outside their doors. Okay, gigantic signs. Here, this big little tiny sign, right?
Yes.
But that's lawyers here, yes. Advocates, because it's not. I don't know how to explain it. It's a different mentality that you are here, the client, 100%, and that's not always how it feels.
Yeah. I think it's all over the world. I think our goal here at the SGP, Sandra Gomes Pinto, to create a long-term relationship. So it's not to be commercial, to highlight, so it's to create for life. We are to do so, and to do our best to maintain them.
And there are some specific things for you, Dr. in our chat that I will now bring up. So people are still asking about the changes at AIMA. What have you been seeing on the ground?
On the ground, I think it's better. So last year it was difficult to get appointments. Now it's much better, although there are waiting times. Sometimes the wife in a place, the man in another, the kids in another place, and we manage that. We try to put them all together, and we have managed to do that successfully. But the AIMA is moving forward better. Now it's clear that the NIS, the social security number in Portugal, it's not necessary for those that have a D7. That is clear. We noticed that in many aspects, since the renewals are being processed online, which is a novelty, and also the submission of documents. There is a 2 or 3 important aspects that are novelty that are quite important. So during COVID, we started a mechanism of prorogation of the validity of the cards that in the meantime stopped. It's that these prorogations no longer exist. And also AIMA clarified that the cards after its expiring dates give you the right to reside in Portugal for the additional 6 months. This is a very recent clarification, which is important. It's in the Great Lisbon area. It's also important that AIMA 2 is the place to collect informations, and that AIMA 1 would be the only one that in the big Lisbon area will take care of golden visas. And now very recently also the renewals of the golden visas can be done online. I would say these are the big major changes. As a disclaimer, I would like to apologize myself. Perhaps we are not getting into all your specific and concrete questions, but if you want them to be answered, please come back to us, send us an email. I will ask Marisa to be kind enough to put our email on the chat because we will do our best to answer all the emails and to address all concrete questions. The first 30 that send us an email will be entitled to have a personal meeting with one of the persons from our team. I would also urge you to subscribe our YouTube channel. We will try to provide a lot of useful information. Tell me what would you like to know, because we will try to address that. And we also will be trying to give surprises to all our audience.
And another question we've been receiving a lot is about the citizenship law. And if you could tell us if there have been any recent updates to this law.
So there are many articles, many people talking about the novelties citizenship law. It's important to clarify one thing. The old law is still valid and applicable. So no changes are in force at this moment. But the process of change is in progress, was already approved by the Parliament. I would say the main change is that from first, now it is required 5 years of legal residence to apply for citizenship. This will turn into 10 years. But it's important to say that Portugal is only following international rules and international criteria. But it's also important to address that even and when the law will be changed, that most people in their daily rights and liberties, their life won't be affected by the fact they are not citizens. The majority of expats residing here will not feel that on their daily life. And also, after 5 years of legal residency, they are entitled to be permanent residents, which will eliminate some of the burdens of immigration law and immigration, the renewal of the visa. So life will be extremely easy after these 5 years if they adopt the permanent residency status. So this won't affect the fact that Portugal is following international criteria and saying that for you to be Portuguese, have to reside these 10 years, have to know the basics of the Portuguese language, have to understand the basics of the legal system of culture. It's only a decent thing to do for a country. This is one of the oldest countries in the world, but this won't affect the foreigners and expats here on their daily rights and liberties. They will not be affected by this change. And after so many people writing and saying bad things about Portugal and the politics, I think it's important to clarify this. The daily life, the daily rights and liberties of the majority of our audience will not be affected by the change of the citizenship law. When this change will be applicable.
I think another topic to also address is the NHR 2.0. Could you tell us a little bit more about?
Yes,
new
I think it's important to address the NHR itself. So we had a fantastic regime, which was the NHR, which initially exempted pensionists and retirees residing here from paying taxes in respect of their pension. Sometime as part of this regime, Portugal said people residing here would pay only 10%, a flat tax rate of 10% on their pension, but would be exempted to paying taxes in respect of the passive income, there were exceptions, that they would receive in their country of origin of previous residency. Now this NHR is no longer applicable, so we no longer have a specific beneficial regime for retirees or pensionists, but we have a new regime that would be applicable for those that have for high value activities such as professors, doctors, and some high-tech activities, and those can and also startups, and so also innovative tech projects. Those persons can benefit from a 20% flat tax rate for income generated in Portugal and an exemption on taxation on income that they would passive income that they would be receive from their country of origin or previous residencies. So this is the actual, also as a requirement for the NHR 2.0, you have to not be legal resident in Portugal in the previous years, and you need first to be tax resident in Portugal, and only after that you can apply for the NHR. I hope this is a brief overview. Any of these things that we are explaining and telling now, can you exempt you to have legal opinion and insistent on your concrete case? But at least we try to give a brief so you understand. But it's also that you address tax exposure that you'll be having in Portugal after residing here and after becoming tax.
And just a final question with respect to golden visas. Is it still an attractive pathway to move to Portugal, Dr. Sandra? And what is your opinion?
Lately, we have not been promoting golden visa in the office in the last years because the process has been very long and a little bit even more uncertain than the T7. Lately, we see improvements, and I think the golden visa is only an interesting path for those that are not in conditions to reside, because it requires a huge investment, which is not required by the D visas. But the golden visa could be an interesting option for all those that are not in condition to reside in Portugal, but would like to have a safe harbor for them and their family in Europe, with the possibility to travel freely within the Schengen space. And in this moment that the world is such a turmoil, this could be a little some persons residing in the Arab, once they stop working, their work applicable and they cannot reside there. Many times they do not wish to go back to reside in their countries of origin, and be a good option, and to secure a golden visa might give them the safe harbor to later opt to reside here if they wish to do so. Of course, and they could do at the same time a good investment. I advise you to do, whenever you do a golden visa investment, to do the same assessment, the same financial analysis you would be doing for any type of financial investment that you'll be doing. And you can do a good financial investment, and at the same pace for a golden visa, that one investment can be applicable for the whole family, kids, and even parents and even in-laws. So one investment can be in some limit for 8 people, and this could be a good option if you analyze it properly before you advance.
And just a disclaimer for our audience, as Dr. has mentioned, the information that we are sharing does not substitute or replace a legal opinion and legal advice that we would give. So for all the questions that we are getting, I see there are still a lot of questions on our chat. I would urge you to send an email to us, and we would be happy to answer you and assist you in your specific situation.
But I would ask you, Marisa, please, if
Yes.
you could pose, at least we'll try to answer 3 or 4 questions to address what our audience is specifically asking.
Okay. We have a question. Do you provide for a D2?
Yes,
visa?
we also provide those services. Yes.
There is another question regarding the New York consulate.
Yes.
Is it better getting appointments in this consulate than the rest?
Definitely. Definitely New York, it's much better than Washington. Yes.
Do you also help with the process of getting dogs to Portugal?
Yes, we know everything. We have a person that we have sure not to buy private jets for dogs. So we know barges, all the things, boats. We have all the options and all the legalities to bring dogs, and we have a special person working on this the whole time on our firm.
There's also a question of, do you have any idea?
Let me just tell you a statement. We at the firm are also dog lovers. That is why we get along so well with Dave and Shira. People like dogs. So we are dog lovers and pet lovers, and that helps a lot with the dog procedure. And we also, all of us want to avoid the trauma of a dog in a cargo, in a plane. We believe that can traumatic experience that can be detrimental for the nervous system of the animal. So this is a theme that is very dear to all of us.
Do you have any idea when appointments will open up?
Typically, it's easier to get appointments in the beginning of the month, but I cannot control. This is something we cannot control. We are getting some appointments for Washington, but I believe it's the appointments when people reschedule or cancel the appointment. So they are random. Sometimes it is within 2 or 3 days, but we are getting some appointments.
We have another question. If we travel on intermediate, the second US passport, must we return to the US? Maybe stay in Portugal and have our visa sent to us?
I really don't understand if I understood the question. The thing is, you should enter in Portugal before the AIMA appointment with the passport that was stamped by the consulate. Because if there's something they are checking on the AIMA appointment is that if you have an entry in Portugal, your visa after the D7 visa. So it is important that you enter in Portugal with the initial passport where you have the D7 visa stamped.
And maybe one more question. Do you help with the citizenship descent?
Yes, we do. And it's the easiest way, especially if it is by parents. But please, Marisa, try to address some other questions of our audience, because I don't want to feel left out and that their questions were not answered.
Is it a challenge to move your dogs across the Atlantic? Do you use a professional relocation service for pets, and which airlines?
Yes, there are clients that want to spend a lot of money, so there is bar care and some other options where they can take your dog in the plane. There are also boat options, and there are also companies that help in the United States. We know all the options. We can assist you with these to make sure your dog is not traumatized. Yes.
There's another, what type of visa do I apply for if my husband has a professional background and seeks employment in Portugal?
Yes, there is a visa for those that only applicable for high value activities where you can use that visa to look for a job here. Yes, there's a specific one for this.
And are there any new rules for bringing cats? And my wife and I have 2, and our aunt, who is coming on an independent D7 visa, owns 5 cats, and we plan on traveling with all 7. So
yes, as far as we know, there are no special novelty for the cats, but this is something we can help you also.
And what is the acceptable proof of valuation for USA properties listed in the D7 visa application?
So normally people don't ask for evaluation of properties. Typically, what I don't understand, I don't know if I fully understand the question, but properties can be important. Does you show that you have property and assets and you have means to sustain yourself, and another thing as a source of rental income. So in that aspect, it will be important that you present the rental contract and receipts of this rental contract if your properties are listed as a source of passive income. I don't know if I fully understood the question, but if I didn't, send us an email and we try to address it better.
And there's another question. Do you set up the appointment or would the client have
Yes,
to do?
this is, we try to do as much as we can on our end and to decrease the stress level and anxiety, to free the clients to think about their own stuff. So we try to do as much as we can. So to setting the appointments is one of the things we do for our clients.
And there's another question. What are the benefits of having a lawyer than rather doing it themselves?
I think Dave and Shira are the right persons to ask them if they would have made it throughout the whole process of a lawyer. What's the benefit of having a lawyer?
We would not have made it here by ourselves.
No, well, we might have, but I think
It would have taken
I think
longer.
it would have taken significantly longer.
And we may have lost the house.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's difficult for understand is that there's a bureaucracy through this whole process.
Both sides.
And there are spoken and unspoken rules. And it's not always clear to somebody who's not done this before, but Sandra understands it. And for example, there were 2 or 3 documents that they said, they don't ask for these. It's not in the requirements, but we've been asked for these before, so we're going to ask that you prepare them.
Just bring them
just in case. And though it probably would have taken 2, maybe 3 appointments at the consulate before we got our documents correct. Instead, we had 1 appointment and it
went beautifully smoothly.
So
and
that's to us, that's of having a professional team standing.
And in fairness as well, anytime we had a question about anything, like even things that weren't legal things, Sandra and her team were more than welcome to help us with it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's key. Like having someone, for me, that I could say, hey, Dave, ask Sandra this, find out this, and she was always responsive about it. It was never a, hey, lady, don't bother me with work. Always very, very helpful. And
I would say that the AIMA appointment was not a place where you would like to be by yourselves.
Oh,
right. No, that would have been impossible.
That was really not ideal. That would not have been ideal. So it was such a not big deal because you were there. That was, both of you. When you went in, Marissa held my hand, kept me company. But we watched people and we talked and chatted about, and it's a much more relaxing, and it's worth it. It's just worth it. I don't know how else to express it. It's
as much as a process, and every process should be clear. It's Sandra's team is marvelous at helping us understand what's next and what to anticipate.
And to the point of the dogs moving 2 very large from the United States, having done it, I tell you, there are hidden things in that as well. Mm-hmm. So if you have a Great Dane, I can tell you there isn't a crate on the market that most airlines will accept, even in Lufthansa will accept. And our dog was injured en route because of that. So it's really worth Sandra's, and Sandra did not help us with that because I didn't know Sandra did that. I never bothered to ask. Had I asked, I would have taken her up on that one too. But we did that on our own. Dave and I navigated that on our own, and it was a nightmare. Getting them here was arguably the hardest part of this entire thing. So maybe that's the best testimony to why do you hire Sandra or need a lawyer, someone who can help you navigate, because getting your animals here, there are a lot of things. There are a lot of I's to dot and T's to cross. Get over here.
And a lot of people profess to know how to do it.
And they don't.
And they don't.
So just be very careful with that.
And if the webinar will be recorded, because I see a few questions on that. Yes, it will be on our YouTube channel. So we urge you to also subscribe to our channels where we will be posting regularly and keeping you updated. And we are, of course, open to suggestions for the next sessions as well. And now I would like to ask Dr. Sandra for her final note and advice to people who are interested.
So my final note is thank you a lot for Dave and Shira. It's a privilege to have you and an honor to have you as a client, and that also makes us very happy. So we are very thankful that you took part of this with us. To those moving, I think that it's science that if you have a professional assistance and if you do the preparation with a little bit of time, that a successful relocation to a happier and healthier life can increase enormously if you do prepare with a proper assistance.
And thank you, Doctor, for your legal advice and all your insights, and to Dave and Shira for taking the time to agreeing, being open to share your story with all of us, and to everyone who also joined us today. Thank you for your time. And we might have not covered all your questions, so we do ask you to email us at sgp@sandragomespinto.com. We've also left our details in the chat, and we look forward to seeing you again very soon.
Just a final note, thank you, Marisa. It's always a pleasure with your calm competence to do anything with you. So we also thank you a lot for being kind enough to do this with us. It's a great pleasure to do this with you also.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.